pretty good numbers. We're expecting a bounce back, but a pretty strong bounce back here we're getting too.
Absolutely, and I think it's quite surprising to see not just capex, but also private consumption leading the way in terms of the second quarter recovery. And I think it underscores what's really happening here, which is it's really not an export-driven economy right now. It is really becoming more and more of a domestic demand-driven one. And hence, I think the linkage between, for example, the stock market and the currency has been declining for this very reason. So very consistent with our view for some time.
Absolutely, but one swallow doesn't make a summer, does it? So does it go on? Can we see more like this? Because I think the Bank of Japan has a potential for the Japanese economy, a growth potential of about 0.9%.
Correct. Obviously, there are a lot of headwinds potentially out there. Namely, we've had terrible weather, lots of flooding and storm damage, which probably isn't fully accounted for yet in the data. And of course, global concerns ranging from trade tensions. We're still unclear about what's going to happen with auto tariffs from the United States. And of course, concerns ongoing about Chinese growth going forward. However, for what it's worth, for both of those recent concerns I just mentioned, both China and trade, we are taking more of a sanguine or benign view as a house. And so therefore, we do expect some of these headwinds globally that have been impacting the Japanese stock market to subside as we head into the fall and later this winter to allow the market to resume a gradual uptrend.
Well, what will be the catalyst for that to happen in your view?
I think if you look at the flows, for instance, foreign investors have been massive sellers of Japanese shares really since the beginning of this year, partly due to the issues that I just mentioned, trade friction, growth concerns, etc. But again, I think as some of these headwinds start to dissipate and we get a little bit more clarity on the policy side of things, we are anticipating, for instance, that there might be some additional fiscal stimulus applied by the Japanese government post the LDP elections come September. So all in all, I think some of the clouds that have been hovering over the stock market and creating a lot of the uncertainty that have been keeping these foreign investors on the sidelines will start to disappear and allow the market again to rally towards the end of the year.
It is gladdening to see business spending coming in that strongly. We're still just coming towards the tail end of the earnings season. It's been pretty good. That should give some people out there the opportunity, at least, to for once look at fundamentals, and perhaps that could be the key driver. Heaven forfend, though, looking at fundamentals, how unusual.
No, I totally agree. And we have a very strong positive view about the outlook for corporate capex going forward, given that Japan is plagued with an extreme shortage of labor and the need to boost productivity. It's really all about capex, but particularly IT capex, which can enhance productivity and overall output over the long run. So we think that is going to remain a core driver of growth. As you mentioned, corporate profits are very robust, and that should enable companies to have the firepower to spend that kind of money. So we do think that's going to remain a big driver for growth overall. But I think the big question mark that a lot of investors still have about Japan is consumption really going to recover? People are still very concerned about that overall, but we did have some very good wage data the other day. So overall, I think tight job market, economy moving above trend, policy still pretty easy in a global context at least. The political environment, hopefully domestically, we will see Abe get reelected in September, allowing him to retain his prime ministership post for the next 3 years. So I think with all this combined, we should see a little bit more of a clear picture for the market going forward.